Hello, I'm Roberto Arbello,
I'm Brian Rosales.
and we are conducting our presentation on the death penalty in the state of Texas. Now, the problem at hand is there's a large percentage of male minority groups that are being targeted by our criminal justice department in the state of Texas, and this includes all races as a whole.
Most specifically, the races that are being targeted are African Americans, Latinos, and they're mostly being targeted in densely populated areas like Houston, which is the #1 city in Texas with the most executions and death sentences.
Compared to other major cities, Houston is number one.
And according to a study conducted by Sage journalists, there are more white people in favor of the death penalty than any other race.
Now, the significance behind the research proposal, the death penalty, it affects society in each of the following ways. It can be discriminated by race. According to the Texas Department of Criminal Justice, the groups most affected by this law is minority groups. This includes African Americans, Latinos, Arabs, Asian Americans, and Native Americans, and other people of color, other Pacific Islanders, which make up 73.7% of death row, which is fascinating. Compared to white people, it is a domino effect. Capital punishment may in fact lead to more violence and conflict among races than it would without having a death penalty system. The law, it affects the whole country as a whole. So it not only does it affect the person who is receiving the lethal injection, but it affects the families of the individual, and this can prompt people to more violence and conflict, and there's really no resolution, as people see it as an eye for an eye type of deal. And we've seen throughout time there's been uncertainty with the justice system and the way it operates, as people already have distrust in our government, pretty much among all races in America, and especially in the election, we have seen lots of conflict.
So, like I said before, African Americans and Latinos, basically minorities, are being targeted. This graph, or this data shows the racial statistics of the death row offenders in Texas, so the death sentences in
As of
Texas
2016.
as of 2016. And so what it says right here is white have had 60 people, while African Americans have had 100 people sent to death, and the Hispanics have around 65. And then other represents Arabs, Asians, and Native Americans, which only have around 10 that were actually sent.
This also ties to the fact that the other minority groups make up 73.7% of death row offenders. Now, the research question, can it be inferred that African Americans and other minority groups are more likely to be incarcerated or are more prone to be put on death sentences and executions in Texas, and that more white people favor the death penalty over these groups, perhaps due to hate crimes? Now, we have facts to back up our research proposal. Since the presidential election of 2016 in November, there have been many violent protests going on by anti-Trump supporters and people who did not like Trump. Following Trump won the election, and his political inexperience and his whole campaign was basically about, well, racist ideals. And not only that, but he just wasn't really favored among a lot of people. But on the other hand, Hillary and the dilemma with their emails, it also did have a lot of people question if we could trust her as a president. So Trump winning, of course, has led to many violent protests in America, and we've seen this in Austin and New York, for example. In the Jurek v. Texas court case decision, the Supreme Court actually ruled on the constitutionality of the Eighth Amendment, cruel and unusual punishment. Even though Jurek was a white man, we still found this to be rather significant because it brings to attention whether the death penalty is considered cruel and unusual punishment. Now, the Eighth Amendment, it protects against cruel and unusual punishment, so that is why we have lethal injection today. It really isn't considered cruel. However, the case was brought to an end. The court ruled in a final decision that no, the death penalty that we have today is constitutional and abides by the Constitution. And ever since 1976, the state of Texas has led the nation in executions among males.
So this survey that you see here shows the support between all races, and we can see through this data that whites supported with 63 and opposed with 30. Hispanics supported with 40, and while 50 oppose it, and blacks supported with 36 and 55 oppose it. So the majority of African Americans actually oppose it. Our methodology that we used throughout our research was our court cases, tables and graphs, political knowledge, historical trends, and our stories.
Now, the responsibilities that me and Brian shared were to interpret data from our sources into research. These sources included governmental websites and other websites that were from scholarly sources. We needed to include proper and correct data into our research to support our research question. And it is necessary to support the research question to provide details on how capital punishment not only affects the criminal, but it affects society as a whole. As whenever we make a law, it affects everybody, every citizen in the United States.
So our impact that we hoped to do is for our research to bring awareness and to look deeper into the situation about the death penalty and with race. And we hope our thinking can influence more research in the future about this specific topic, and we hope to teach others of the innovation behind our research.
Now, here are some of our work cited, by the way. We have included many sources to support our presentation and topic.
And a question that I would like to ask you is, do you think in the future Texas will continue to be the leader in death sentences and death executions? And do you think it will ever be abolished in Texas?
In the near future. Alright, and this concludes our presentation for AIS. And my name is Roberto Ravello.
Brian Rosales.
And that's it.